All right, Bramwell, what's up, bro?
Hey,
Hey,
How's it going, guys?
Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us, man.
we're glid to be here. It's 5:30 or 5:40 a.m. here in the U.S., but we're
wow.
glad to get up early for Hacking the Box.
I hope you guys have your coffee because, it's now 6:40 p.m. here, but we're still drinking coffee, bro. Drinking coffee.
yeah,
We did get that nice Hacking the Box hacker coffee from you guys. That was pretty sweet.
Have you guys tried it?
I haven't. I don't actually drink coffee, but I think Austin.
I also have it. I don't really drink coffee.
You guys don't drink coffee? What do you drink, man? Like tea or like craft beers? Or
I have some water.
Healthy.
Mountain Dew. Nice.
Okay. Healthy folks.
Every once in a while, yeah.
Just diet at least.
Hey, okay, guys. Let's dive
Shall we
into
jump into it? Yeah.
your talk stuff. Man. I think we have some questions from Discord. So
Yeah.
Shriman, take it away, bro.
The first one is, what do you think are the real-world applications of using jump-oriented programming?
I think there are some really good, strong real-world applications with jump-oriented programming. We've been doing some research lately and have noticed that there's a lot of binaries that seem to be compiled by Visual Studio that keep having these same dispatcher gadgets that are repeating. And that's all we really need is just one really good dispatcher gadget. And some of these have the same dispatcher gadgets just repeating multiple times. And if that's present, then that means that it potentially could be susceptible to jump-oriented programming just the same way it could be susceptible to return-oriented programming. And the really cool thing about JOP is if you don't have the issue of bad bytes, then the stack pivot technique that we introduced that could work. And in that sense, sometimes JOP can actually be easier or simpler than ROP.
And also, while JOP is a little bit lesser known, lesser explored than ROP, it's still possible in a lot of binaries in the real world, and we have seen it in the wild. There's been a JOP exploit developed for the PS4, the PlayStation 4. Also, in one of our demos, you can see that exploit for that ICO-FX program. And so you can see that JOP's possible in a lot of these binaries. Just like ROP is. And,
Okay,
it's just
you
another
mentioned
type of exploitation
dispatcher programming. What exactly is that?
You say that again?
You mentioned dispatcher, was it
Gadgets.
binary?
Yeah, dispatcher gadgets, yeah.
Dispatcher gadgets. What is that?
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah. So with JOP, with return-oriented programming, which would be kind of the more well-known type of code reuse attack, we'd have a bunch of gadgets, which are little sections of code that would end in a return, and then we would put all of these on the stack. So at the end of each gadget, it would do whatever action we wanted it to do, and then the return would move the stack pointer to the address of the next gadget, which is another code snippet, which would do more actions. With the JOP, we're not using returns, we're using a jump. And each jump is going to return to that dispatcher gadget. And what that dispatcher gadget is going to do, there's going to be a table somewhere in memory, and it's going to have a bunch of addresses to each other gadget that we want to use. So each section of little snippet of code. And then our dispatcher gadget is going to increment through that table and go through each gadget. So that's what our dispatcher gadget is. And that's kind of what ties our exploit together.
Cool.
So is there a difference in the number of job gadgets compared to ROP gadgets?
The thing with ROP gadgets is those are going to always be extremely plentiful for most any application, whether it's a small application or a big application. The job gadgets are going to be a little bit more rare, a little bit more scarce. However, if you have a bigger, larger application, then there's going to be more job gadgets. So if you're trying to do jump-oriented programming and you just have a tiny, small application, there may not be enough gadgets. But a larger sized application, like Discord, for instance, there's just going to be a really good, strong amount of job gadgets.
So when you guys started this research, right, I'm sure you spoke to Microsoft about it. And so what are their thoughts? I mean, there are definitely some defense mechanisms that they can introduce, but on the long term, do they have anything that there's coming up, or how are they going to address this?
That's a really good question. So one thing that has originally the NSA created a form of what's called control flow integrity to try to mitigate against JOP, and that has led to the development of something called CET, and that will provide strong defense against ROP gadgets, JOP gadgets. However, you do need it's only just starting to be released on CPUs, and so if you don't actually have the hardware that supports it, it doesn't provide that defense. So that's kind of a next generation defense against both return-oriented programming and jump-oriented programming.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, there's also a mitigation, a control flow integrity mitigation called Control Flow Guard, or CFG, and that does provide a little bit of defense against JOP gadgets. However, there are a number of ways that we can avoid that, and so it doesn't always actually work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading your abstract, and it says that it's only applicable when the binary is compiled against CFG, right? So, have you guys studied like how many binaries are actually not, as in like how many binaries are exposed to this?
There are, I mean, if you, like 19% of the population right now still uses Windows 7. Windows 7 doesn't even support CFG, so even if there is CFG, it's not going to be supported there. Even if it is compiled with CFG, there still can be ways around it. For instance, we have opcode splitting, which allows us to get unintended gadgets. Inline assemblies is not supported. I think a lot of, there are quite a bit that do use CFG, so that does provide some defense. But again, even if they are compiling it with CFG, there still can be ways around it. And also there can be an issue of, just like with ASLR, sometimes there can be DLLs or libraries, modules that may not have ASLR. At the same time, there could be DLLs that may not have CFG. So there can be a number of ways around that.
And I guess keeping in mind that most people don't upgrade. They're going to be on Windows 7 for a while yet, and probably they won't buy new hardware that has all the latest and greatest on-chip defense. So this is going to be here for next 15 years?
Probably. It's going to be around for a long time. And there are companies that are using...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It does have to be compiled with the actual option to enable CFG as well, so that's just another step on top of that. And it's not enabled by default, I don't think. And even if it is enabled, it only guards against instructions that the compiler actually generates on purpose. And again, we were talking about opcode splitting. So we still can have gadgets even with CFG enabled, so you can still create a JOP exploit entirely based off of binary with that mitigation enabled too. So it only does so much.
Very cool. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, tell us about how long it would take to develop a JOP-based exploit as compared to an ROP-based exploit on your experience so far.
I think it really depends on the binary itself, and in particular, the presence of the dispatcher gadget. If there's a really good dispatcher gadget, it could be pretty quickly. If there's one that's less desirable but still feasible, for instance, Austin does one where he's getting a dereferenced chunk of memory. It adds a little bit of a complication, but it took him less than a day to develop the one that he did with the icon making software. So it really just comes down to the dispatcher gadget. At the same time, there's also the possibility where you don't have to do this dispatcher gadget full JOP chain thing. You can just do it as a way to kind of augment and supplement just return-oriented programming. So in that respect, you could go and load into a register just the address of a return instruction. And in that sense, you could just use JOP as kind of a way to... A JOP gadget in that sense could be equivalent to just another ROP gadget, and so that you could just use it as a way to expand ROP gadgets. So the answer to your question is, again, it really just comes down to the presence of dispatcher gadgets, how many they are, how good they are, but it can be very quickly. If it's susceptible to the technique where we have the automatic job chain generation, then that could be very fast, because that approach is actually very much simpler, but it kind of assumes that there's no bad characters, no bad bytes, because not every binary has that.
So your latest version, I think, has this job chain generation stuff, right? Like you just released a new version of the Job Rocket tool, right?
Yes, we just released a new version. Actually updated it last night just to get the latest and freshest, but that is built into the latest version.
Awesome.
You talked about CFG just now. Are there any other CFG technologies on the horizon that would affect this that you are aware of?
Yeah, the SET thing, the CET, that's a joint collaboration from Intel and Microsoft, and that's basically kind of CFG on drugs or asset. It's just much more powerful. And again, that's what I was talking about earlier, where we'll provide very strong defense, not only against ROP gadgets. With ROP gadgets, they'll have a whole separate shadow stack that's hardware based, and they'll introduce new assembly instructions to prevent you from essentially, the idea with ROP or JOP is you'll go into the middle of an instruction, but this way, or a function, and this way it'll prevent you from doing that. You'll only be able to go to the beginning of a function. And, a function in assembly is a very long thing. And so it wouldn't really be feasible to do really anything with ROP or JOP. But again, that's something that could take several years for it to be deployed.
Do
you have any other questions?
From Discord, not really, no. But what would be the real world applications of using this? Have you seen it being used by APTs or malicious actors or whatnot so far? I remember seeing in your abstract it's a phantom concept up till recently.
It really has not been very widely used, but there has been some. When we were doing some research, we came upon and saw that some people were using it, for instance, in Sony PlayStation 4. That wasn't even in a Windows application. They're doing kind of their own variation of JOP, which is a little bit different, but no, it really hasn't been widely used yet. I think we're hoping to. I run a lab at Dakota State University called the Verona Lab, which deals with vulnerability research and exploit and development of exploit tools. And Austin's a full-time employee right now. During the summer, at least, he's finishing his master's degree. Mm-hmm. But we're hoping to do and release just a number of different JOP gadgets, or not JOP exploits, and put them out places and hopefully make this more prevalent, because a lot of people don't really know about it, because without the JOP rocket, this is something that really hasn't really been too feasible. There really hasn't been the knowledge and to be able to even do it, because there's lots of different questions and technical obstacles that Austin and I've had to overcome. So we're hoping to see more people maybe start to use it, because it does have that potential.
And there's also
with it, people I think that's always what everybody's waiting for, like sample code, cut and paste,
Pretty sure the Job Rocket gives them that incentive there.
Yeah, exactly. So more people to check it out. Do we still have time?
No, we are quite up already now.
Almost out of time, guys. Anything else you guys want to add before we let you guys get on with some sleep, I suppose, or you're gonna get on with your day? I don't know, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, right?
You need to find some coffee. Get into coffee, I guess.
If you guys don't have anything else to add, thank you so much for joining us in the studio, guys. Awesome research as always.
Thanks for having us.
More Job Rocket.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Shriman, anything to add?
Nah, that's it, I think.
Cool, guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.